Collectors are a very specific type of person who collects a very specific type of thing and also have their own very specific set of problems. Today in gameranx, here are 10 things only video game collectors understand. Starting off with number 10, the worst part about being a collector is a whole if there's something to have, I need to have it thing. It sucks even more when it applies to 1, something you already own, and B, something that isn't necessarily cheap. You know, like buying variant editions of a $20 action figure isn't totally horrible. But when you own a PS4 that already costs you a few $100s, and there's a super nice God of War and Spider-Man Special Edition PS4s floating around out there, how do you not buy and display both of them? This sucks even more so for Nintendo collectors because there are so many limited editions 3DSs out there, most of them being really cool too. And this goes way back to the Game Boy as well. There were so many cool special edition Game Boys out there. Me, personally, for some odd reason, I've always wanted to get my hands on the Tommy Hilfiger Game Boy. For absolutely no reason at all other than the fact that I saw it at a video game shop, and since then I've just needed it. Moving on to number 9, at some point into a console generation, you end up just having extra controllers. It's nothing really strange. Whether it be buying one extra for your friend, sibling, or significant other to use when they want to play with you, or maybe you got an extra one after your console shit the bed and you had to buy a new console and it came with another controller. Or maybe there was a sick deal on Black Friday that you just couldn't pass up. Either way, getting extra controllers is fairly normal. But when you're running like 100 controllers deep, that's when it's not normal. When you're buying every different colored one that releases, or maybe you're really excited for Sea of Thieves, so you have to have that Sea of Thieves Xbox controller, which I totally have one of those by the way. Or you absolutely need that Diamond Dogs controller that only came bundled with the Metal Gear Solid 5 Phantom Pain Special Edition console that didn't come out in the US. I totally want that controller by the way. That's when you know you have a problem. And I'm sure this isn't exclusive to this console generation either. You probably own every colored N64 controller, or maybe you have weird ones like the Nintendo Power Glove and that weird knockoff one that Sony made for the PlayStation. No one needs this many controllers, but you totally need them. Do you know what I'm saying? And at number 8, you're totally a collector when you buy those crazy big collector's editions that are specifically tailored to you. And now the more recent trend with these collector's editions is that it doesn't even come with a copy of the game. But of course that doesn't matter and it doesn't stop you, and you buy it anyway, because there's no way you're going to pass up on that Red Dead Redemption 2 collector's box that comes with a puzzle, bandana, and playing cards. I mean, you just absolutely need stuff like that, right? Well, no, not at all. No one does. You definitely don't need a Red Dead Redemption puzzle, but for some reason, you're gonna lose sleep at night if you aren't able to roll over in bed and see your collector's box sitting there nice and perfect next to your State Decay 2 zombie mask and the remote-controlled Mass Effect Andromeda Nomad. Not having it just isn't an option. And moving on to number 7, you are definitely on the extreme end of a collector if you collect every version of a game or series. Standard edition, collector's edition, whatever. If you go the extra mile, you probably copy other console versions too, like if a game was out on both PlayStation and N64 or something. I had a cousin who collects certain game series like this, and let's just say he never offers to pay for lunch, which is why I had a cousin. Not everyone has money to burn like that, but it's just going to an extra level to seriously freaking collect something. If you are one of those people, I hope you've got plenty of shelf space too, because you're gonna need it. And at number 6, this point is for a specific type of collector. Maybe you just love collecting everything from a particular game franchise. It could be anything from Kirby or Earthbound to Borderlands and The Witcher. I don't know, it's more of a modern example, but I know someone out there that has almost every piece of Halo merchandise, down to the freaking bottles of Mountain Dew Game Fuel that had Master Chief on the front to promote Halo 3. Then there's Jake, who is slowly collecting everything Metal Gear Solid, from the games to the action figures to the Metal Gear Solid 3 official Calorie Mate snack and Metal Gear Solid 4 playing cards. Come on, you know everyone has their one favorite game franchise or thing that they try to get everything from to have a complete collection, even the crappy lame stuff, because without the garbage, it's still technically incomplete, right? Hopefully you're just as crazy as us, I hope, if you've gotten this far in. Anyway, moving on to number 5. Okay, so look, not everyone has a ton of space to put all this stuff, and it can get out of control very, very quickly. If it's something that's cartridge or disc based like PS1 or N64 games, it'll pile up slowly, but trust me, me, it will get there. That said, if you're collecting consoles or even worse, arcade cabinets, that space fills up before you even know it, which can be a problem for you if you get to hoarder status, but can also cause problems with the people you live with or your pets or whoever else doesn't like putting up with your video game bullshit. Hell, it's not unheard of for someone who's an avid collector to go to a self-storage facility and get a space for all that stuff and just have a cavern of video game artifacts that they rarely see and can probably get rid of no problem and live an overall better life, but for some mess up reason, they still sleep better knowing that all that stuff is there if they wanted it. Like, hey, I want to play Pitfall for the Atari today, so I'm just gonna go drive down to my storage space and get it. But at the end of the day, you need to take a long look into that deep, dark, truthful mirror and realize that it doesn't matter if you get a good deal on the storage unit or that you sweet talk the old Italian mom at the storage office into giving you a free lock with your sign up, you have a problem. And next up at number 4, every collector has that one thing that they're chasing for what seems like an entire lifetime. It could be a rare out-of-print game, or maybe something with a typo, or even an overseas printing of a game that you just have to have. It becomes an obsession. You're always hunting it down. You tell yourself that this is it. Once I get this is when I stop because I win. I win the collecting game. And maybe at some point you do actually get that thing that you've been hunting for all those years. And when you do get it, you feel so great, but only for a little bit. Because then you feel empty because you no longer have that thing that you've been hunting for years. The chase is over. It's the same reason why the Joker won't kill Batman and why Batman won't kill the Joker. So you think, I guess I stop now, and then you see it. Some rare game that you've somehow never seen before, and it's in that moment that you decide that you need to have it, and that you're going to dedicate your entire life to acquiring said item. And then that vicious cycle starts all over again because you're a collector and you need to collect. As the great Tom Haverford once said,
Love fades away, but things are forever.
And at number 3, there comes a point in every collector's life when someone around you is just tired of you and all the bullshit that you've accumulated throughout the years. It could be a friend, a parent, or even a significant other that finally puts their foot down and says, hey, you have a problem, no one should have this much shit. And of course, you kind of know that they're right, and you know where they're coming from, and you know that having every game in the Metal Gear Solid series on every platform, 2 copies of each one opened and 1 unopened, is a little absurd. You know that you might have a problem, but you love your problem, so you tell them politely to fuck off. Coming in at number 2, you've definitely been here. Maybe you're shopping at a retro game store, or browsing through bins at a flea market, or even painstakingly zooming in on photos on an eBay listing. You're doing all of this because you're looking for the perfect package. If you're collecting a game, you want the manuals, the insert, and box art to all be correct and perfectly intact. You can't have a box with a manual or a game without a box, right? I know I've definitely gone out of my way to track down a few manuals to finish off my collection, so I know you may have too. Original Nintendo games and classic PC games came with so much extra stuff like the plastic sleeves or maps or keyboard overlays that it really makes collecting a bit more complex sometimes. And frankly, you gotta love the thrill of the chase. But if you think about it, if people in the far future go on to collect the video games of today, they have a way easier job because game packaging is so simple nowadays, especially considering its days might be numbered. And down to number 1, don't mind us getting a little preachy here, but if you're a longtime video game collector, there's a good chance you take video game preservation seriously. It's a less glamorous aspect of video game culture, and it's an important one that needs a spotlight shined on it, and it needs to be upheld. Both private individuals and organizations have worked pretty painstakingly to preserve all sorts of video game stuff. For future generations to have complete access, preservationists create uncompromised, perfect copies of classic games from the super retro era to arcade and everything in between. Many sites also take the time to scan high-resolution images of game inserts and manuals, as well as any posters or marketing material or even classic game magazines. Frankly, it's awesome. Video game collectors can sleep at night knowing there are good folks out there that want to preserve the integrity of our favorite classic games in the coming all-digital future, and we just wanted to tip our hats off to them. And those are 10 things only video game collectors understand, but we want to hear from you, so meet us down in the comments and let us know what you think. What kind of stuff do you guys collect, and what's the craziest thing you've ever purchased or the craziest thing you've ever done to complete your collection? And as always, I'm sure you already know, hitting that like button really helps us out, and if you're new here, subscribing is a good idea because we put out videos like this every single day. As always, thank you for stopping by to hang out with us. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you next time right here on gameranx.